Last time on Dragon Ball Z, Li Yun Xiao and Yuan find themselves in the deep sea region ruled by the Blaze Fish tribe. Demonstrating the power of the true soul phoenix, the reincarnated soul gets hailed as the holy emissary and is escorted to the Kungdo divine tree. After an all-out war against the villainous Razor Clan tribe, Yu Xiao is reborn with the true fire of life. Now he heads back to the surface to catch the rainbow fog back to Verdant's seaport. Holding the reborn Kungdo divine tree in his hands, Yu Xiao starts grinning and salivating, since consuming such mystical power would allow him to break through at least 3 tiers in one go. The reincarnated soul is tempted to swallow it whole, right then and there. However, since it's the first time he has come across a spirit that can be stored in a Shu Fun weapon, like his storage ring, Yu Xiao suppresses his intrusive thoughts. After all, no amount of soul power is better than Tai mystic chi. While the reincarnated soul fawns over the rarity among rarities, that is the Kungdo divine tree, Tai Fei, along with some other members of the Blazefish tribe, pops back out of the sea. Hoping that their holy emissary isn't delayed because of them, the reverent fishes return his Tiger King battleship and bid him farewell for real. As Tai Fei heads back, Yu Xiao notices something different about his 5th-tier treasure and hops on to take a quick peek, only to end up screaming out in excitement at what he sees. Turns out, the Blazefish tribe filled their holy emissary's Tiger King battleship to the brim with amazing treasures. Swimming around in his newfound wealth, Yu Xiao laments that he blew up the other 2 battleships, since the sea folk would have filled them up too. Of course, the reincarnated soul is anything but ungrateful and giddily stores the bounty in his storage ring. Right then, the rainbow fog reemerges, carrying the monsters he hunted on his back. Yuan fortunately shows up on time too. Thinking about finally returning home, the old man grins with excitement. Suddenly, some of the pink crystalline dust comes flying his way, making him doze off. Yu Xiao slaps Yuan awake, making him question if the rainbow fog is supposed to hurt their faces. Pretending like he totally wasn't the one responsible, the reincarnated soul doesn't correct the old man's misunderstanding, and instead gaslights him into believing that it's exactly what happened. Dude never beating the master manipulator and habitual liar allegations. Anyway, since the pink crystalline dust entirely negated his universal detect, Yuan questions if Yu Xiao can really make it through the immensely dense fog, getting told not to worry as his spirit power has grown quite a bit recently. Hearing this, the geezer doesn't want to wait a single moment to leave. However, the boy tells him to wait a moment. This confuses Yuan, as the denser the pink crystalline dust, the safer the spatial transfer, making this the best moment for them to enter. Yu Xiao agrees, but he is waiting for something to happen. Right then, a burst of light zips past the duo and into the rainbow fog. As Yuan recognizes him as none other than Hung Yuan, the reincarnated soul orders to chase after him without hesitation. The 7-star martial grandmaster flies into the rainbow fog, and Yu Xiao follows behind, riding on the sea folk's water ball. Yuan starts struggling in the pin crystalline dust, prompting the boy to open a path up front with his spirit power for him to follow. With this, Yu Xiao zooms forward, making the old man question if he is really trying to end Hung Yuan there of all places. Bro still can't match his freak. Barely managing to keep up with the boy, Yuan bombards him with countless queries, getting told to pipe down and just speed up. Soon, Yun Xiao catches up to his friend from the Star Mansion's Sect and asks him to hold on. Bringing out his Tiger Fang sword, the reincarnated soul greets Hung Yuan with his ferocious roaring tiger terraquake technique. Easily blowing away Yun Xiao's attack, the martial emperor declares Yu Xiao insane for challenging him, while still being a mere martial lord, announcing that he isn't afraid of the boy. Hung Yuan reminds him that they will both die if they fight inside the rainbow fog. Almost as if just realizing that fact, Yu Xiao puts his Tiger Fang sword back into the storage ring. The martial emperor sighs out in relief, thanking the heavens that the boy isn't dumb. In the same breath, Hung Yuan starts acting like he is the one sparing them, only to get struck with instant karma. Seeing Yu Xiao completely ignore his words and charge a blast, the martial emperor's eyes almost pop out of his skull in shock. Roasting Hung Yuan for being exactly like the Star Mansion Sect's old geezer, who would rather die than not lie, the reincarnated soul gathers the pink crystalline dust into a concentrated ball. Overcome with despair at the sheer insanity of this act, the martial emperor begs him to stop. Of course, Yun Xiao isn't one to listen to the desperate cries of his enemies. Forming a perfect sphere out of the pink crystalline dust, the boy hurls it toward Hung Yuan like a bowling ball, dubbing the technique Fortunate Spirit's Strike. Call them Minato Namikaze the way these names sound. Confronted by a true maniac, the martial emperor activates his boundless realm, Star Mesh Shield, to protect himself from certain death. However, he still tries to act like a tough guy, prompting Yun Xiao to go wild with his spirit power manipulation. The concentrated ball Yun Xiao formed with Fortunate Spirit's Strike expands and shatters at his command, turning into a giant crystalline dust war axe. As the reincarnated soul ruthlessly prepares to crush him, Hung Yuan gathers all of his Yuan energy to unleash the threefold Star Mesh Shield. Once again refusing to accept even the possibility of losing to a mere martial lord, the martial emperor promises to kowtow to Yun Xiao 10,000 times if he somehow breaks the Star Mansion Sect's ultimate shield. Of course, the conniving boy doesn't intend to even attempt such a thing, and instead spins the crystalline dust war axe to attack him from the side. The underhanded trick leaves Hung Yuan in tears, who, for some reason, was under the impression that they were fighting head-on. To Yun Xiao, though, the Star Mansion Sect doesn't have a right to talk about morals. About to send the martial emperor straight to hell, the reincarnated soul boosts the crystalline dust war axe, forcing him to block with a last-second barrier. However, it is too weak to stop it. Realizing that he can no longer block the incoming attack, Hung Yuan summons a mysterious stone and throws it at the crystalline dust war axe. The collision results in a massive explosion, shattering them both. While the pink crystalline dust dissipates and returns to the rainbow fog, Hung Yuan's item is completely destroyed, causing him to mourn over its loss. Recognizing the artifact as the Stone of Three Lives, Yun Xiao rages out. After all, if he had known that Hung Yuan possessed such a thing, his life could have been spared. However, now, killing the martial emperor even 1,000 times isn't enough to make him pay for the crime of exploding a treasure as precious as the Stone of Three Lives. Turns out, Hung Yuan didn't know what the stone that saved his life was at all, having bought it purely by chance. With tears in his eyes, the Star Mansion Sect's elder looks on helplessly as Yun Xiao starts to gather pink crystalline dust in an even greater amount than before. Left with no other choice, Hung Yuan begs and pleads to be spared, promising to treat the boy well when they meet again. Of course, the latter doesn't stop collecting the pink crystalline dust whatsoever, forcing the former to kowtow in front of him. Yes, that's right, keep acting submissive like that. Wait, wrong channel. Referring to Yun Xiao as a hero, Hung Yuan vows to give him anything he wants in return for his puny life. Right then, Yuan Yue finally catches up to them. However, the unexpected scene leaves him wondering what he missed. He doesn't miss the chance to pile on the martial emperor, although labeling him as a coward and an embarrassment to all martial emperors. Instead of refuting the statement, Hung Yuan declares that the geezer is right and starts hurling insults at himself, begging Yuan Yue to ask Yun Xiao to spare him. The pathetic martial emperor promises to become their servant when they return, disgusting both of them with his antics, not the least bit surprised that an elder of the Star Mansion Sect is comparable to that oldie in being appalling. The reincarnated soul unleashes his shooting star fireball at him. Realizing that his pleading didn't pay off at all, Hung Yuan drops the act and goes back to disrespecting Yun Xiao, promising to take down the Violet 9-strike moth with him, bringing out the 6th tier beast from his storage ring. The martial emperor breaks its entrapment and throws it into the shooting star fireball as his final act of defiance. After all, if he can't have it, no one can. This doesn't stop the crystalline dust flames from burning him though, and Hung Yuan gets engulfed by them from head to toe. However, despite his entire body turning pink from being scorched, he somehow ends up living. Suddenly, something overcomes the martial emperor, making him fall unconscious. Yun Xiao himself looks on at the phenomenon in anticipation, having never witnessed the aftermath of someone getting sucked into the pink crystalline dust before, not even in his past life. With all eyes on him, Hung Yuan floats lifelessly in the rainbow fog. Moments later, he snaps awake with a wide grin across his face, leaving both Yuan Yue and Yun Xiao startled. To make things even creepier, the martial emperor starts laughing like a crazed maniac. A hexagram appears on Hung Yuan's forehead, and the pure white of his blind right eye gets diluted with a bar-like pupil, making him regain vision in the process. Du copied Grey Matter's whole flow, word for word, bar for bar. Smirking at the strange pair of Yun Xiao and Duan Yue, the ominous entity intently starts observing them. As if this is his first time seeing the duo, Hung Yuan recognizes the reincarnated soul as a 15-year-old fourth-tier refiner and the geezer as a sealed martial emperor. However, unlike before, his universal detect exerts soul-crushing pressure on them both. While Yun Xiao and his old servant are still trying to process what's going on, Hung Yuan raises his right arm. With this single motion, the pink crystalline dust scatters, forming an entire tunnel for the martial emperor. Sparing a glance in the strange pair's direction, he ignores them for now and makes his way out of the rainbow fog. After he leaves, Duan Yue tries to calm down his thumping heart and asks Yun Xiao to explain what's going on, considering the pressure Hung Yuan exerted earlier almost made him collapse. Usually, the reincarnated soul is pretty calm in these situations and clowns the geezer for tripping out. However, for the first time since Chengda Sheng's death, something has shaken him up. Pure horror is visible on his face as he reveals that Hung Yuan was possessed. The shocks Duan Yue is shocked, as he had always thought that the existence of such an evil technique was nothing but a myth. These dudes be killing each other, but possession is where they draw the line. Makes total sense. Regaining his composure, Yun Xiao explains that whoever took control of the martial emperor's body is a being with extremely strong spirit power. After all, they managed to pierce the entirety of the rainbow fog by simply raising their arm, a feat that not even he can accomplish. Duan Yue questions if the one who possessed Hung Yuan is a refiner, getting his hypothesis confirmed by the boy. As only refiners have spirit power, strong enough to detach them from their physical bodies, no one else besides them usually cultivates possession techniques. Yun Xiao himself went through a similar experience when he was reborn in Tianshui after dying in the Tiandang Mountains, though that was because of the godly evolution technique. On the other hand, whoever possessed Hung Yuan remained in the pink crystalline dust as a spirit body, waiting for a human body to use as their vessel. Finally, the mysterious entity got its chance to be reborn through Hung Yuan. The reincarnated soul marvels at the vastness of the world and its wonders, feeling like a frog that has just seen the opening of a well. Following this, Duan Yue gets scared of another spirit body, popping out of the pink crystalline dust at any moment. Announcing that they are lucky that Hung Yuan's possessor couldn't be bothered to fight them, Yun Xiao instructs the geezer to focus on searching for the great treasure, that is the violet nine-striped muff's corpse. The boy speeds up, getting begged by Duan Yue to wait for him. Soon, the duo finds the great treasure and escapes the rainbow fog. Feeling refreshed, the old man starts laughing with relief and lets out a wild cry, causing the entire seawater to ripple wildly. Suddenly, a voice shouts out at Yun Xiao and Duan Yue, questioning who is noisily disrupting the Limitless Sect's hunt. Out of the frying pan and into the fire, the two of them end up getting surrounded by numerous floating battleships. Bra's got the faulty plot armor. Laughing in the face of the enraged members of the Limitless Sect, Duan Yue celebrates, since this means that they are finally back at Verdant Seaport. Right then, one of them reprimands the old man for still daring to laugh in their face, considering he just disrupted their hunt for the golden mystic sea cow, which they had been preparing for over 3 months. Since the setup required countless resources and hidden techniques, the angry guy questions how Duan Yue intends to repay them. Unfazed by the threat, the latter glares at the former with intense contempt, prompting a blonde to forcefully shut up her martial brother's mouth. Not being able to detect Duan Yue's cultivation whatsoever, she recognizes that his cultivation is far beyond theirs and doesn't want to anger him. Valuing her life, the girl asks the sealed martial emperor to ignore the dumbass beside her, even though all their efforts to hunt the golden mystic sea cow went to waste because of him. She just chalks it up to the Limitless Sect being unlucky, causing the idiotic dude to open his mouth again. The blonde dropkicks the ever-living crap out of him, not wanting another word out of him. Suddenly, Duan Yue begins to move, declaring that the idiotic boy is right. He gets ready to repay them. Feeling soul-crushing pressure from the 7-star martial grandmaster, the girl begs him to stop. As Duan Yue increases his power, the Limitless Sect panics. Activating their battleship's arrays, they prepare for combat. Meanwhile, the geezer zips through the air. After reaching a certain height, he stops and unleashes his white flames, taking aim at the dumb dude's floating battleship. Sweat dripping down her face, the blonde questions why such an elder is killing complete strangers like them. Ignoring the girl's words, Yuan Yue ferociously hurls his spear of white fire at the idiotic guy's battleship. Showing tremendous chivalry, the dumbass stands in front of his martial sister to protect her. Much to the surprise of both of them, Yuan Yue's attack completely curves their floating battleship and makes its way toward the water. Right then, the golden mystic sea cow pops out of the sea and leaps into the air, surrounded by a barrier made out of its golden chi. The gigantic beast collides with Yuan Yue's white flame ghostly killer, not knowing that this would be its biggest mistake. The 7-star martial grandmaster's weapon shatters the golden mystic sea cow's shield and pierces through its head, killing the monster in a single blow. Never mind. The plot armor is working just fine. After slaying the beast, Yuan Yue starts acting all cool and goes on a cocky monologue. His mighty showcase leaves all the onlookers with their jaws dropped, and they thank the heavens that they weren't fast enough to attack. Due to his time with the reincarnated soul, the geezer had almost forgotten how it felt to hear nice things. So, he revels in the moment as all the glazing by the spectators' members falls like music on his ears. Continuing to impress them, Yuan Yue teleports, instantly swoops down. He sits down on his weapon, announcing that the Limitless Sect can take the sea cow as repayment for earlier. Overcome with uneasiness, the blonde thinks that this is a wicked joke, since no one would give away such a treasure after going through the trouble of hunting it, and begs the elder to let them go. Announcing himself as Yuan Yue, someone who doesn't bully the weak, the geezer tells the Limitless Sect members to just accept his gracious offer and scram. For some reason, the girl is surprised upon hearing the elder's name, while the idiotic boy questions why he isn't dead. Yuan Yue lashes out at this disrespect, prompting the blonde to choke out her martial brother to shut him up for good. Finally, the reincarnated soul steps in, asking the duo to elaborate on why they thought that Yuan Yue died. Foaming out of his mouth, the dumbass questions Li Yun Xiao's identity. Being the good servant that he is, the 7-star martial grandmaster reasserts his dominance for his master's sake and orders the two kids to speak. Turns out, certain rumors circulated in Verdant Seaport a few days ago that Yuan Yue, along with the other elders that went to hunt the Purple Nine-Striped Moth, all died. Since this meant that 7 martial grandmasters of the Six Directions realm lost their lives, the entire city was thrown into chaos. The uproar particularly affected the sects belonging to Ma 1D, Yan Fei Yue, and Shi Hong Kai, along with the Soaring Swords and Tiger Slayer sects, as well as the Square Pavilion. All of them even sent out experts to investigate the matter, but all of their efforts were in vain. Concluding that this is all Hung Yuan's doing, Yuan Yue rages out. Yu Xiao signals him to calm down and asks the kids where they got their info. Lo and behold, the information came from an expert belonging to the Star Mansion sect who was claiming to have watched the martial grandmasters die with his own eyes but was lucky enough to escape himself. And no one doubted the story. Okay, even a penny has more sense than these idiots. At the same time, the blonde wonders why a famous martial grandmaster like Yuan Yue is following the lead of a mere 1-star martial lord. Right then, Yu Xiao thanks her for the info and reiterates that the Limitless Sect can take the hunted beast with them. All the while, the geezer keeps freaking out. Once again, the blonde hesitates to accept the offer. With this, the reincarnated soul menacingly stares at her, threatening to shed some blood if there are any more delays in their departure. Thanking Yun Xiao and Yuan Yue for their help, the Limitless Sect's floating battleships tie the golden mystic sea cow and head out in the blink of an eye. Still high from all the praise he got earlier, the 7-star martial grandmaster refers to the reincarnated soul as a kid and questions if they should reveal that the Star Mansion sect was responsible for the death of their teammates. Of course, the latter quickly brings the former back down to earth by reminding him that he is his young master Yun. With no sense of dignity left, the geezer does as told. Blue got humbled instantly. Finally, Yu Xiao reveals their next plan of action, going through their next course of action, while Yuan Yue nods along. However, the sudden realization of what the boy just said leaves the old man dumbfounded. Yu Xiao wants to take advantage of the chaos to borrow the Star Mansion Sect's Green Phoenix battleship, making Yuan Yue panic and wonder if he has truly gone insane this time. After all, stealing such an immensely powerful item from the Star Mansion sect would ensure that no place on Earth is safe for them for at least a few aeons. However, Yu Xiao thinks that the old man is belittling the Star Mansion sect, since losing a mere Green Phoenix battleship isn't going to be a huge loss for a force as big as them. The reincarnated soul tries to emotionally blackmail Duan Yue by reminding him that he had to sacrifice 3 Tiger King battleships to save his life earlier. Yun Xiao reprimands the ungrateful geezer for throwing a tantrum when it's his turn to return the favor, but he doesn't fall for his tricks this time and promises to return the 3 battleships instead, not wanting to anger the monstrous Star Mansion sect. Refusing his refusal, the boy assures Duan Yue that there is no need to worry and tells him the game plan. Since the strongest fighter of the Star Mansion sect in Verdant Seaport is a mere 1-star martial emperor named Shu Fun, the geezer will easily take him out in the 1 hour he is unsealed, with his true strength as a 2-star martial emperor. Meanwhile, Yun Xiao will find a way to control the Green Phoenix battleship. Despite this immaculate strategy, Duan Yue doesn't stop ranting and practically begs the boy to think things through. Scared of the might of the Star Mansion sect, the cowardly old man reiterates that they won't be able to hide anywhere in Tianwu. If they follow through with this, getting reminded that the Star Mansion sect is already out for him. Duan Yue seems to have forgotten that his still being alive, while Hung Yuan has disappeared as a crime in and of itself, which will get him hunted, even if he doesn't do anything from now. So Yun Xiao isn't the one who needs to think things through, but rather the old man. My goat is also a professional instigator. What can't he do? Hearing Yun Xiao's words, Duan Yue realizes that he is kind of right, leaving him with no reason not to return the Star Mansion sect's favor. The geezer tries to inform the reincarnated soul that a full power blast from a Green Phoenix battleship can output the strength of realms, allowing it to kill even him, even in his unsealed state as a 2-star martial emperor. However, Yun Xiao tells Duan Yue to just focus on Shu Fun. After all, the Green Phoenix battleship that the Star Mansion sect has in Verdant Seaport is nothing but a half-assed item meant to scare people and can't really utilize its full power. Moreover, even if it was a top-tier Green Phoenix battleship, they still wouldn't have any reason to worry, since operating it would require many third-tier refiners. Freed of all doubts about the plan, Duan Yue ponders over where his heart is at. Finally, he decides to follow Yun Xiao's lead to exact his vengeance and go all out, vowing to repay the Star Mansion sect's hostility with some of his own. 2 days later, the story of the Star Mansion sect assassinating Ma Wandi and the other martial grandmasters to steal the violet 9-striped muff spreads throughout Verdant Seaport. It only takes half a day from then for the Soaring Sword and Tiger-slaying sects, along with the Square Pavilion, to send numerous of their experts there. Obviously, the streets start talking about the incident as well. People lose faith in the Star Mansion sect, and rumors of their sect master, being a perverted old man who is into young maidens, begin to catch on as well. At the same time, on the Star Mansion sect's Green Phoenix battleship, countless guards surround the core formation area. Inside it, 4 refiners working together manage to repair only a single formation source, after using up countless materials to do so, making them question the strength of the refiner, who made such an amazing 6th-tier floating battleship. While the 4 refiners continue to lose their minds over the Green Phoenix battleship, Yun Xiao suddenly appears behind them, lamenting that it is even worse than he thought. Shocked by the boy popping up out of nowhere, the refiners start causing a commotion. 4 nearby experts get alerted by the noise and rush for the reincarnated soul, wondering how he managed to enter such a heavily guarded place. He put 100 points into his sneak stat. Yun Xiao questions if they don't feel any shame asking him that. After all, they wouldn't have known that someone was there had he not spoken up. Surrounded by 4 8-star martial lords, the boy stands there unfazed. Turns out, he snuck into the Green Phoenix battleship by pretending to be a primordial stone transporter from the Manduo Commerce Guild. Praising the refiner who recognized this fact, Yun Xiao walks away from the martial lords, wanting to examine and study the main formation. However, the idiotic guards don't let the reincarnated soul proceed peacefully and rush to kill him. Forced to engage in a battle that is beneath him, Yun Xiao lets out a deep sigh. The 4 8-star martial lords jump the boy, attacking him from all directions with their unique weapons. Of course, he simply slides out of the way. Using the guards' weapons against them, Yun Xiao makes quick work of 3 of them. Right then, the 4th one appears behind him, with a blazing wrecking ball announcing that he is done gathering his power. This leaves Yun Xiao truly disgusted, as shouting loudly when the intent is to sneak attack is a level of idiocy that transcends even Duan Yue's stupidity. Old dude is so dumb. He catching strays from us, not bothering to dodge the onslaught at all. The reincarnated soul instead opts to simply get pushed into the ground by the 8-star martial lord, giving him enough false confidence to believe that he can grind the boy into a paste. Moments later, Yun Xiao pops back out. Of course, he's completely undamaged, having unleashed the unyielding tyrant physique to tank the blow. Yun Xiao lets out a devilish grin that truly complements his crimson body in this state. Effortlessly shattering the 8-star martial lord's weapon, the reincarnated soul patronizes him for his earlier remarks and sends him flying into a nearby wall with a massive punch. His body comes crashing down behind the other 3 guards, who are left in utter disbelief by seeing the state that it is in. The dude's body is completely disfigured, barely looking like a human anymore. Making an example out of people as usual, Yun Xiao completely destroyed his 4th-tier Shu Fun artifact with his bare hands, a feat that even a martial emperor can accomplish. Walking toward the 3 remaining guards, the reincarnated soul vows to leave anyone who steps out of line looking like he is at a loss for words, trying to explain what to call it himself. A person, a corpse, a pie, or simply flesh paste. I strive for this level of pettiness. Regardless, it doesn't matter either way, as long as they get the point. Yun Xiao walks away after making this bone-chilling proclamation, leaving the guards literally pissing themselves. The boy then takes a close look at the Green Phoenix battleship's formation core, which is so badly wrecked that it might as well be just for show, to maintain the Star Mansion's Sect's public image, just like he thought. While Yun Xiao contemplates how much money he would have to put into fixing such trash, the 4 refiners wonder if he is any good with formations to say these things. Bloods are more clueless than harem protagonists. Suddenly, Yun Xiao brings out an insignia made out of qi, enveloping the formation source with a strange marking that causes it to start moving. As if that wasn't enough to shock the 4 refiners watching him, a huge commotion breaks out elsewhere as someone barges into the battleship. The fight causes the entire Green Phoenix battleship to tremble wildly, something that not even the 4 refiners can do, despite working together. So, they wonder if the 3 great sects are involved in the attack. At the same time, Yun Xiao asks this mysterious troublemaker to be careful and not wreck the ship any further, not wanting to waste any more money on it. To top things off, the highest authority of the Star Mansion sect in Verdant Seaport, Martial Emperor Shu Fun, makes a move to confront the intruder, who is courting death. Sitting atop a pile of corpses, Yuan shames Shu Fun for appearing only after so many of the Star Mansion sect's disciples have been killed, and declares that he is the one who's courting death. Shu Fun demands that Yuan reveal his identity, announcing himself as someone who doesn't kill nobodies. The latter one-ups the former, declaring that he isn't qualified to know his name. Enraged by the arrogance of the little 7-star martial grandmaster, Shu Fun lifts up his finger, preparing to swipe him out of existence. Suddenly, Yuan entire appearance changes. The 1-star martial emperor instantly stops right in his tracks, recognizing that the old man's energy is higher than his own. Questioning what Yuan did to suddenly become a 2-star martial emperor, Shu Fun starts sweating and does a complete 180 on his behavior. He begs the Lord to be kind, promising to make things right if the Star Mansion sect offended him in any way. Being a professional glazer, Yuan has no interest in listening to his fake glazing and strikes him down with a white flame ghostly killer. Shu Fun barely avoids the attack, but ends up killing one of his disciples instead. With the warning shot launched, the geezer decides to refresh his opponent's memory and gets ready to reveal his name, vowing to bury him along with that knowledge. And so, the Verdant Seaport Beast Hunter, Yuan announces himself. Hearing his name, Shu Fun gets agitated, rushing toward the feral old man. The 1-star martial emperor mobilizes the elders, accompanying him. Like a pack of hungry wolves, they jump the intruder. Of course, Yuan takes them all head-on. Witnessing the scene, the 4 refiners can't believe that someone stronger than Shu Fun showed up, albeit feeling a bit relieved that the Star Mansion sect has many powerful fighters to outnumber him. Right then, the realization hits them that the lone martial emperor might not be alone at all. The 4 of them turn over to Yun Xiao, instantly forgetting their reason for doing so upon seeing what he is up to. Shouting "Whoa" in unison, like they are the crowd during Cody Rhodes' entrance, the refiners note that the formation source has never been operated at such speeds before. They conclude that Yun Xiao has somehow fixed the Green Phoenix battleship, but the reincarnated soul understands that it's still far from being operational. Since the 6th-tier item is completely falling apart, the only way to make it work is by forcefully activating its arrays using primordial stones. As using the Green Phoenix battleship freely requires repairing it completely, Yun Xiao laments that he will still have to go, quote-unquote, there. Before that, though, there are some annoyances to deal with. So, the reincarnated soul steps forward, reaching the center of the formation core. Suddenly, the circular lid there slides open. With their faces touching each other, the 4 refiners look on in awe. Moments later, a mechanical system pops out of the battleship's floor, making them lose their minds. Pitying the poor fools who have never seen the navigation panel before, Yun Xiao invites them to come closer so they can see something cool. Meanwhile, the 3 remaining 8-star martial lords think that the boy has his guard down and rush to kill him to avenge their boss. Right then, Yun Xiao activates the Green Phoenix battleship's navigation panel, causing a massive ball of energy to erupt from it. The reincarnated soul doesn't even have to move a finger, as the green burst of light eviscerates the 3 guards, turning them into the same mush of flesh as their ally who fell before. Unbothered, Yun Xiao ruthlessly celebrates striking gold, while putting the martial lord's 3rd-tier Shu Fun weapons into his storage ring. Elsewhere, Duan Yue continues to beat up the horde of fighters attacking him. This ain't 20 versus 1. It's a 1 versus 20. Shu Fun orders all of his troops to attack at once, believing that their numbers will win them the fight. Although the former mocks the latter for using his sect members as bait, he is actually worried that things will go south if they continue like this. Fortunately, the green burst of energy reaches his location right that moment and continues to expand, becoming a barrier. Soon, it pushes all the members of the Star Mansion sect out of the battleship, keeping only the old man inside. Realizing that Yun Xiao's plan worked, Duan Yue starts laughing. On the other hand, Shu Fun is fuming. After all, losing the Green Phoenix battleship will ensure that they die a horrible death. He orders the elders to use all their remaining strength to bombard the intruders, though the barrage of attacks does no damage to the shield. Standing on the opposite side, Duan Yuan notes that even his peak strength might not have been enough had the Star Mansion sect members decided to unleash on him instead. Since they can't stay like sitting ducks forever, he hopes that Yun Xiao has something else up his sleeve to get them out. Meanwhile, the reincarnated soul asks the 4 refiners to come and help him, as activating the Devil's Tone Cognate formation requires the combined strength of multiple people. Despite their hearts brimming with the light of alchemy, wanting to help Yun Xiao, the refiners try to pretend otherwise and question why they should aid an enemy. Moreover, they wonder what their help would even do, since the main offensive formation of the Green Phoenix battleship is already broken. These words trigger the boy, as he is already pissed off about going through so much trouble to steal such trash. Feeling agitated after putting great effort in fixing the garbage battleship, Yun Xiao snaps. He no longer asks nicely, and instead demands that the refiners get their asses over to him. Will she talk to me like this? No. I swear my cat ran over my keyboard. Shaking in their boots, the quartet goes over to the boy, who scribbles down the mechanics of the Devil's Tone Cognate formation on a notepad and passes it on to them. He gives the 4 refiners only until the count of 10 to understand the mechanics, promising to kill anyone unable to do so. Over with Shu Fun, the realization hits him that the barrier they are trying to break is none other than the defense formation that broke over a decade ago and couldn't be fixed since only to start working now. While he throws a tantrum over the identity of the person who fixed it, his minion tries to calm him down, since maintaining the defense formation requires an incomprehensible supply of primordial stones. Right then, an opening is created in the shield. Shu Fun quickly orders everyone to start moving to capture the intruders, demanding that they be brought to him in the central formation area. However, his rant soon stops as one of the elders' attacks directly strikes the Green Phoenix battleship. As Shu Fun gives him a deathly stare, the elder tries to explain what happened, only to get threatened in return. With tears flowing down his face, the latter gets ready to follow the former's orders. Suddenly, a wave of energy strikes all the members of the Star Mansion sect, making Shu Fun realize that it's the Devil's Tone Cognate formation. Wild tremors echo everywhere, sending the 1-star Martial Emperor and the elders into a spiral. In a nearby building, a bunch of geezers try to analyze what's going on in the Star Mansion sect's Green Phoenix battleship, mistakenly attributing the heist to the 3 great sects. They express interest in the mysterious 2-star Martial Emperor, who fended off so many experts all alone. wondering if he's someone popular from the southern region. Turns out, people from the three great sects secretly contacted these geezers, trying to recruit them against the Star Mansion sect. Seeing the bloodshed, one of them feels lucky that they declined getting told not to say such a thing out loud. After all, they should actually unite against the wicked Star Mansion sect and other common enemies with the Heaven-Sent Empire's major forces, namely the Soaring Sword sect, the Tiger-Slaying sect, and the Square Pavilion, especially since they, the Thousand Crane Pavilion, suffer the most because of them. Just in case things go wrong, though, the geezers don't want to openly declare war on the Star Mansion sect, instead wanting to give the intruders a little help in secret. Ghost Helper is a new one. Drake would be proud. Right then, the oldest guy sitting atop a platform in the center of the room notices the energy of the Devil's Tone Cognate formation. However, he was told that the Star Mansion sect's main offensive formation was broken. So, the ancient dude inquires the Intelligence Hall Master, Shu Zhengqing, about who gave them that information. Shu Zhengqing swears that the intel was correct, but the geezer refuses to believe that two formations were repaired in just a few days, reprimanding the Intelligence Hall and its master for losing half a year's worth of primordial stones, only to feed him false information. The old man sentences Shu Zhengqing to punishment by thorns, something he cannot protest. Meanwhile, Li Yun Xiao talks to the Star Mansion sect members via the Devil's Tone Cognate attack. Originally created by a famous ancient martial sovereign, the technique unleashes a profound sound art, disturbing the minds of its listeners with the Devil's heart. As the most important thing for martial artists is to protect their Yuan and mind, the stirring of the Devil's heart messes up their true chi. In the worst-case scenario, they go crazy, and some even die. Hearing Li Yun Xiao's voice echo throughout his entire existence, Shu Fun shouts at him to shut up. This is Golden Experience Requiem. Ever since entering Verdant Seaport, the one-star martial emperor tried his best to find people to repair the Devil's Tone Cognate formation all day, every day. However, every refiner he recruited was a piece of trash who couldn't help him whatsoever. Now, when the offensive formation is unleashed for the first time, it is attacking the very person who previously wished to have it repaired. This irony is lost on Shu Fun at the moment, though, as he is stabbing his ear canals out, just so he doesn't hear the profound sound art anymore. At first, Shu Fun no longer hears the voice anymore, making him think that it worked. Of course, Li Yun Xiao was just catching a breather. The reincarnated soul continues to talk, not stopping, until he completely explains the lore behind how the Devil's Cognate formation came to become the main offensive formation of the Green Phoenix battleship. With the blood from his own ears dripping down his fingers, Shu Fun gets blasted by another wave of the attack, leaving him in immense agony. Right then, Yuan Yue shows up there to troll the one-star martial emperor for being so stupid. After all, there is no world in which the effects of a top-tier formation can be avoided by merely destroying one's ears. Hit with the sudden realization that Yuan Yue isn't getting affected by the Devil's Tone, Shu Fun questions why that is the case. However, the two-star martial emperor deems that there is no reason to tell that to someone who is about to die soon. With these words, he unleashes his white flame ghostly killer, slashing through Shu Fun. The latter doesn't want to die like this, but the former curses him to regret his action even in death. Getting the chance to do something so cool gives Yuan Yue a whole new level of respect for Li Yun Xiao. After all, had it not been for him, he would have died with Ma 1D and the others during their hunt. Instead, Yuan Yue returned alive, and now even learned the high-level heart-calming technique to withstand the Devil's Tone attack from the boy. His mental blazing gets interrupted, though, as Shu Fun suddenly grabs him. In a moment of desperation, the one-star martial emperor prepares to self-destruct, resolved to take Yuan Yue down with him. However, the geezer isn't falling for it at all. Grabbing Shu Fun by the neck, Yuan Yue shouts at him to get lost and throws away his exploding body. With this, the former's ditch effort ends up delivering the final blow to his own allies, causing their bodies to rain down on the city. Everyone in the city watches the show, as if it were fireworks, playing a guessing game on the falling figures and recognizing them to be martial grandmaster level elders of the Star Mansion sect, as well as the martial emperor Shu Fun. Upon noticing that some of the martial artists are still alive, though, they start running, not wanting their fine yuan to get absorbed. At the same time, the Three Directions Ghost Eye curse seal reappears on Yuan Yue's chest. The old man sighs out in relief that the fight finished just in time and jumps over to Li Yun Xiao, questioning how things are on his end. Suddenly, the Green Phoenix battleship's wings start flapping, and it begins to move. This sight leaves all the onlookers in shock. After all, the ship has been stuck in Verdant Seaport for a decade, convincing them that it's just for show. Huge shockwaves erupt from the Green Phoenix battleship as it gets driven away for the first time in forever after getting stolen by thieves, no less. The Star Mansion dude's incompetence is really getting exposed in Forg. With this, only the Thousand Crane Pavilion's battleship remains in the city. Everyone instantly starts speculating over which mighty force was responsible for screwing over the Star Mansion Sect, all coming to the same conclusion. They attribute the theft to the combined forces of the Soaring Sword Sect, the Tiger-Slaying Sect, and the Square Pavilion, with a little bit of help from the Thousand Crane Pavilion. In the sky, 3 Peak 9-star martial grandmasters listen to the gossip. Xinan, Duan Xianhu, and Li Yun Xiao, the heads of the Square Pavilion, Tiger-Slaying Sect, and the Soaring Sword Sect respectively. Since everyone thinks that they were responsible for the attack, Duan Xianhu is enraged that they won't clear their names unless they somehow catch the real culprit. This confuses Xinan, who thinks that there's no reason for them to wash their hands of the incident at all. In fact, it's even better that someone else took out the Star Mansion Sect for them. Turns out, Duan Xianhu's worried about the false allegations reaching the Star Mansion Sect's head, descending on the Heaven-Sent Empire, having heard that he is a 9 Heavens realm expert. Despite being old and perverted, he possesses the power to wipe out even the Thousand Crane Pavilion, much less them. Xinan reminds the Tiger-Slaying Sect head that crossing regional borders just to exact his revenge would be a violation of the Holy Region's laws, so even a 9 Heavens realm expert like the old pervert won't dare do such a thing. Duan Xianhu counters with the fact that it wouldn't be a violation of the Holy Region's laws if the Star Mansion oldie could prove that they stole the Green Phoenix battleship, but Xinan remains unworried. After all, they actually didn't do it, leaving the old pervert with no way of proving it. Duan Xianhu doesn't say it, but he is disgusted that sects like the Square Pavilion who cultivate the grand chi of justice by burying themselves in books are so naive when it comes to how the world works. So, he turns over to Li Yun Xiao for his opinion, who has been quiet until now. Announcing that they are in big trouble, the Soaring Sword Sect head turns the other two's attention to what's happening in the city. Turns out, some mysterious figures are killing all of the Star Mansion Sect's disciples, ensuring that the 3 great sects take heavy blame for when the old pervert crosses over to the Heaven-Sent Empire. Lo and behold, everyone is greedy even in this world, as this act has been orchestrated by none other than the Thousand Crane Pavilion. They intend to take advantage of the situation and recruit the Star Mansion oldie to wipe out the remaining sects in Verdant Seaport, hence becoming the only major force there. Oldie got a weird case. Why is he around? Meanwhile, the Green Phoenix battleship, now belonging to Li Yun Xiao, has already moved hundreds of miles out of the South Sea. Being the kind soul that he is, the reincarnated soul even brought the 4 refiners from before along with him. While the boy paces around the control panel furiously, Duan Yue can't believe that he really managed to steal a Green Phoenix battleship and questions if the teenager is even human. Tingling with curiosity, the old man wonders if he is allowed to touch any buttons on the ship. Right then, Yun Xiao screams out, making Duan Yue swear that he didn't touch anything. Fortunately, the reincarnated soul isn't enraged at him, but rather at the entire battleship for having no use other than being a pretentious, floating decoration piece. Duan Yue is utterly confused at this, as the 2 formations alone should already make the Green Phoenix battleship valuable enough. However, the next piece of information he hears leaves the geezer in complete disbelief. Apparently, the primordial crystals Yun Xiao spent on starting the defensive shield and using the Devil's Tone attack for only 10 counts were equivalent to 50,000 middle-tier primordial stones. Duan Yue starts tripping out, as he can't even make that much money in an entire year. Of course, it is only natural that something capable of affecting a martial emperor's blood circulation and mind would devour such large amounts of Yuan Qi. After all, even 7 Constellations realm martial grandmasters are thought of as peak beings in the Heaven-Sent Empire, let alone martial emperors. Changing the subject, Duan Yue asks Yun Xiao what they should do with the 4 refiners. The quarter huddle up and start begging for their lives, swearing that they will be of use, since they are all 3rd-tier refiners. The geezer wonders if it's okay to spare their lives, considering the 4 refiners belong to the Star Mansion sect. Yun Xiao declares that there's no need to worry, as the quartet is very familiar with the ship, making the 4 refiners quite useful indeed. Since the most important thing at the moment is repairing the Green Phoenix battleship, the reincarnated soul announces that he will have to look for, quote-unquote, them. Shaking his head like a confused chicken, Yuan wonders who he is talking about, prompting Yun Xiao to reveal that he is referring to the Commerce Guild, which will accept any business deal. Being below only the Thousand Treasures Tower, his destination is none other than the Thunderwind Commerce Guild. Hearing the name, Yuan is confused, knowing the Thunderwind Commerce Guild as just some random small-time guild that gets no business and has one-person-wide entrances. Yun Xiao assures him that they are a massive commerce guild, not even needing to build tall and stupid skyscrapers to be won. Money, power, respect. The last one is better. Say, it's a lot of goofies with a check. Still, Yuan thinks that the boy is exaggerating when he says that they will accept any business deal. After all, no one would be stupid enough to take a commission for, say, the tyrant Marshal Sovereign Ao Chong Kong's head. However, Yun Xiao believes that the Thunderwind Commerce Guild will even accept that business deal as long as the payment is made upfront, but no one has enough money for it. Anyway, since the Green Phoenix battleship is too large to fit inside a storage ring, the reincarnated soul decides to dock it on a nearby island, before heading to the Thunderwind Commerce Guild. There, he teaches the concealment formation to the 4 refiners so they can help him set it up. The quartet is baffled, unable to believe that they managed to learn more from the boy in one day than they did by themselves in a whole year. Soon, the 4 refiners work together with Yun Xiao. In the time Yuan returns from a toilet break, the Green Phoenix battleship, along with the entire island, vanishes into thin air. Afterward, the reincarnated soul wonders how Marshal Flame City is doing, after being away from it for half a month, and decides to head back on his last Tiger King battleship. The next day, the ship enters the Dusk Flame Empire's borders. Being drunk out of his mind, Yuan inquires about Yun Xiao's identity, still being in the dark even after all this time. The boy reveals that he is the Marshal Flame City Lord, which falls in a small country named Tianshui within the Dusk Flame Empire. Of course, the old man calls cap and doesn't believe a word he says. Tapping Yun Xiao on the shoulder, Yuan declares that possessing such extraordinary prowess and strength at the young age of 15 just isn't possible without being a massive superpower's disciple. Hearing this, the reincarnated soul decides to tell him the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Yun Xiao proudly proclaims that he was once a 9 Heavens Realm Marshal Sovereign and a 9th Tier Refiner, making Yuan 50% sober. However, the claim is so insane that the geezer goes back to the city lord's stuff and guesses that the boy is a disciple of the Heaven Gathering Sect, whose sect master is Shu Fun, having recently stepped into the 8th Desolation Realm. Moreover, Shu Fun's master Hua Qian Shu is a 9 Heavens Realm Marshal Sovereign, making the Heaven Gathering Sect the strongest sect in the Dusk Flame Empire. So if only they have the ability to create a monster like Yun Xiao. Thinking about it, Yun Xiao remembers that Hua Qin Shu is his elder disciple, meaning he does have some connection to the Heaven Gathering Sect. Yuan starts boasting about getting it right and inquires about the kind of connections the boy is talking about, only to absolutely plummet to the ground in disbelief when he claims Shu Fun to be his grand disciple, furiously swearing out Yun Xiao for always lying. Yuan warns him never to say such a thing out loud, unless he wants to get turned to ashes by the Heaven Gathering Sect. The low IQ specimen remains unaware that he is the only one in the entire world who knows about the reincarnated soul's real background. Regardless, since the geezer is going to be following Yun Xiao for a bit longer anyway, he is convinced that his darkest secrets will soon come to light. Willett wants it to be all on his face, like what happened to Mike. At nighttime, in Marshal Flame City, an ominous figure floats around the city lord's residence, having flattened it to the ground. Only Marshal Flame City's ugly pill tower is left standing in the location, without so much as a scratch on it. In a burst of rage, the mysterious entity unleashes his wild green flames to demolish the pill tower once and for all. However, his attack doesn't faze it one bit. With his green flame burning in his left hand and Li Yi in his right, the old man with ruffled hair questions why nothing is working on the tower. Trembling in his oversized sleeves, The cockroach promises that he doesn't know anything about it, only to get dropped from the massive height. Even while falling through the air, Li Yi swears that Li Yun Xiao is responsible for everything bad in the world. Referring to the geezer as Millard, the former insists that he will know everything by capturing the latter. Li Yi already resented Yun Xiao before, but it only grew after the incident at the Supreme High Palace. If you don't remember, the reincarnated soul stole the items that the cockroach wanted to steal. Anyway, Li Yi wanted to reveal the truth to Ma Tianhe, hoping to recruit him to exact his vengeance on Yun Xiao. Before he could do that, though, Xingyang Huo entered the Supreme High Palace and wiped out over half the Sect members without saying so much as a word. Just like everyone, he was under the impression that they wiped out the Xingyang family. So, Xingyang Huo tortured Ma Tianhe and his son to death. Even on their deathbeds, they didn't get to frame them for such a grave crime. Nah, Yun Xiao not going to heaven. When it came time for Li Yi to die, he got the bright idea to push all the blame onto the reincarnated soul, despite not knowing for sure if he even had anything to do with the Xingyang family's demise. In fact, Li Yi only did so because he saw Yun Xiao frame Xingyang Ming for stealing the Supreme High Palace's items. However, his sniveling cord is paid off. Saving his own life and creating trouble for Yun Xiao, Li Yi slays two birds with one stone. Everything seemed to be going well, but when Xingyang Huo dragged him to Martial Flame City, the reincarnated soul was nowhere to be found. Infuriated, the peak 9-star Martial Grandmaster started wreaking havoc on the City Lord's residence, only to fail in doing any damage to the pill tower there. Bombarding it with his green flames, Xingyang Huo is convinced that Yun Xiao is hiding inside, and using some sort of defense formation to make the pill tower invincible. Since such formations rapidly consume immense amounts of resources, he only has to wait until the boy runs out of them. Overcome with a thirst for revenge, the head of the deceased Xingyang family vows to keep burning the pill tower with his lotus field flames that never go out, no matter how long it takes. Looking on, Martial Emperor Zhu Jin feels that something is up with Martial Flame City. After all, the pill tower is not only withstanding Xingyang Huo's lotus field flames, but it's also blocking off the universal detect of Martial Emperors. He asks Xinpi's opinion on the matter, who is left questioning. If the Martial Flame City Lords somehow massacred the Xingyang family, Xinpi usually wouldn't entertain such an idea, since even Tian Shuoi's royal family can't perform such a feat. However, the large formations on the Pill Tower leave him questioning otherwise. The Shrine Elder Ao Di Jia feels the same way as well, seeing the geezers nonchalantly yapping. Xingyang Huo gets annoyed that they aren't helping him and wants to start squinting at them. Of course, he instead opts to take out his anger on the Martial Flame City's ugly Pill Tower. Right then, Yun Xiao emerges from the Lotus Field flames, burning with rage. Despite being only a 1-star martial lord, his intense bloodlust makes the peak 9-star martial grandmaster cower in fear. In the same way, the 3 martial emperors in the area get alerted by the reincarnated soul's arrival too. Bro got that Shanks-level conqueror's hockey. Calming himself down, Xingyang Huo inquires about the teenager's identity. Before he can answer though, Li Yi emerges from the rubble to introduce him as the Martial Flame City Lord, Li Yun Xiao. Meanwhile, the peak 9-star martial grandmaster grits his teeth. Turns out, he stopped cultivating himself to cultivate the flames instead, practically pausing his own progression to the martial emperor level. So, for a 1-star martial to easily ward them off, Xingyang Huo feels that his entire life's work is becoming meaningless. Looking like the most intimidating person on the planet, Yun Xiao questions the intruder's identity. At the same time, he steps through the Lotus Field flames like they are nothing. Seeing the green flames blow away from the reincarnated soul, Li Yi cluelessly concludes that Xingyang Huo is willingly keeping him alive for interrogation purposes. Regardless, he makes sure to inform the peak 9-star martial grandmaster that Yun Xiao is extremely cunning, practically ordering him to burn the boy to exact their vengeance. Of course, Xingyang Huo doesn't take kindly to this, and blasts Li Yi away for trying to command him. In reality, the former is hiding that he is trying to burn the reincarnated soul, but just can't. Having trained with his Lotus Field flames to the point of connecting his heart with them, Xingyang Huo realizes that they aren't being warded off, but are instead cowering in fear of something. The sensation he feels from them is like that of a mere quote-unquote peon encountering a legendary being. In such a situation, even thinking of fighting back is impossible. let alone actually following through with it. Experience so humbling, Lud started glazing his enemy mid-fight. Left with no other choice but to talk things out, the intruder introduces himself as Xingyang Huo and asks Yu Xiao if he wiped out the Xingyang family. Hearing his introduction, the reincarnated soul loses it. Without delay, he releases his unyielding tyrant physique and unleashes the true phoenix flames, scaring off all other flames. Trembling in his boots, Xingyang Huo questions what his family did to anger him so much. In response, Yu Xiao furiously proclaims, "Take one man from me, and I will take everything from you." Elsewhere, Li rolls around like a bowling ball while getting burned alive from Xingyang Huo's earlier stunt. Quickly using extreme yin frost chi to freeze his own face, the cockroach sighs out in relief, only to end up losing his mind upon seeing Yun Xiao's devilish figure in the reflection of the ice. With his entire body painted crimson, due to the unyielding tyrant physique, the reincarnated soul flies around using the phoenix's flames as wings and promises to wipe out the Xingyang family from the face of the continent by killing the intruder. Enraged by the preposterous declaration, the Peak 9-star martial grandmaster exerts himself. Threatening to burn Yun Xiao to ashes, he even vows to crack the pill tower open to kill everyone hiding inside it. With this, Xingyang Huo's lotus field flames gather and then explode, unleashing his coveted shooting star fire rain technique. Convinced that this is the end for Yun Xiao, Li Yi starts celebrating. Of course, it is extremely premature, just like many other things in his life. Afraid of him, Xingyang Huo's lotus field flames completely avoids the reincarnated soul. Still thinking that this is some sort of mistake, the Peak 9-star martial grandmaster unleashes his green flames once more, intending to incinerate the boy. Not even bothering to move, Yu Xiao simply waves his wing. The true soul phoenix's flames don't struggle whatsoever, blowing away Xingyang Huo's lotus field flames as if they were nothing. Witnessing his life's work come crumbling down before him, the Peak 9-star martial grandmaster can only question how such a thing is possible. Refusing to accept the reality of someone, 2 whole major realms below him, withstanding his flames, Xingyang Huo starts bombarding Yun Xiao with his lotus field flames. Of course, nothing has changed, as they completely avoid the boy entirely. The reincarnated soul menacingly walks towards Xingyang Huo, who keeps begging him not to come closer. As Yun Xiao closes the distance between them, the bum ends up falling on his bum. Seeing the former up close, the latter finally realizes what's going on. Feeling strange heavenly flames residing within Yun Xiao's body, Xingyang Huo finally understands that their tier is far above his lotus field flames. Meanwhile, the reincarnated soul prepares to land the finishing blow on his enemy, only to end up losing control of the phoenix's true fire at the very last second. Even though the Kungo divine tree itself taught Yun Xiao how to refine the flames, gaining complete control over them at the martial lord level turned out to be too difficult, just like he thought. Dude is the thinker. To make matters worse, Xingyang Huo decides to not be a coward anymore. Declaring that Yun Xiao isn't fit to possess such heavenly ancient divine flames, the Peak 9-star martial grandmaster rushes to take them from him, annoying the boy greatly. Right then, Duan Yue makes a heroic entrance, saving the reincarnated soul's life. Of course, he makes sure to remind him that they don't owe each other anything now, telling the geezer to shut up. Yun Xiao sits down to suppress the phoenix's true fire. He also asks the former not to kill Xingyang Huo, wanting to kill him with his own hands. At the same time, the unexpected appearance of a 2-star martial emperor leaves Zhu Jin, Xin Pi, and Ao Di Jia in utter disbelief. Not using the phantom of the true soul phoenix's flames and actually using the real thing for the first time, Yun Xiao realizes that the ancient divine objects are as complex as he thought. So, if the reincarnated soul wants to control them, he will have to become a martial sovereign once again. Meanwhile, Duan Yue mocks Xingyang Huo for being scared of Yun Xiao, when he could have just suppressed him with his realm. Completely losing track of what's going on anymore, the Peak 9-star martial grandmaster just questions who he is, having learned from the best thief on the planet. Duan Yue declares that there is no need for Xingyang Huo to know his name and promises to secretly let him go if he hands his flames over. Not appreciating someone aying his beloved lotus field flames, the intruder lashes out. Even though he was scared against a 1-star martial lord moments before, he shows no fear against the 2-star martial emperor and charges toward him. Yuan Yue returns the favor by striking with his white flame ghostly killer, albeit deciding to spare Xingyang Huo's life for the sake of acquiring his flames. Witnessing Yuan Yue's might, the three martial emperors in the sky speculate over his identity. Ao Dijia hopes that he is just some hidden expert from a small sect, but Xinpi says about him being an expert from one of the other three regions. Turns out that even though the Tianwu continent is split into 4 regions, not all of them are equal in strength, with the southern region that the 3 great sects belong to being the weakest. Embarrassing. Regardless, Xinpi feels that Yuan Yue's origin location doesn't matter, since something weird is going on in Martial Flame City anyway. As even the Thousand Treasures Tower denied backing them, the Martial Emperor is left wondering just who in the world is really behind the youth called Li Yun Xiao. Right then, Ao Dijia announces that they have no room for error since Mount Meru is about to open, and wonders if they should just kidnap the Martial Flame City Lord for interrogation. However, Xinpi strongly forbids it. After all, Mount Meru's impending opening also means that the other 3 regions are keeping a close eye on the 3 great sects, just praying for them to cause some trouble so that they can do the same. So, as long as their forces don't do anything, no one in the other 3 regions would dare to openly break the Holy Region's laws either. Ao Dijia calls BS on that, as the large powers have always snuck in. Some detestable acts undetected anyway, prompting Xinpi to preach about the unfairness of the world. After getting that out of his system, the Martial Emperor issues his orders, declaring that Martial Flame City is to be monitored closely from now on. However, they are to be left alone if they don't cause any trouble, at least for the time being, since they can always sort out the matter after Mount Meru opens. The 3 geezers then change the subject to the raging battle taking place before their very eyes, and Zhu asks Xinpi if there is any way for Xingyang Huo to emerge victorious. Even though the Peak 9-star Martial Grandmaster's Lotus Field Flames are a tier higher than the 2-star Martial Emperor's White Ghostly Flames, he is still a major realm below him. So Xinpi concludes that Xingyang Huo can only win if Yuan Yue is greatly inexperienced. To summarize, blood is cooked. Through his countless years of experience, the geezer recognizes that he can't suppress the enemy with his flames, and instead opts to pull out a new trick he hasn't shown before. Using a true water element martial skill, Yuan Yue swirls around Xingyang Huo's Lotus Field Flames, fully suppressing them in the process. Turns out, the geezer learned many useful things like this during the time he was trapped inside the flaming Congo Divine Tree with Tiafan and the others. Yuan Yue lets out a proud grin, mocking the Peak 9-star Martial Grandmaster for getting demolished in such a smart way. Analyzing the shortcomings of the geezer's technique against the enemy, even Yun Xiao is shocked by his quick-witted and practically flawless showcase. Since water element techniques are softer and not as deadly as other elements, Yuan Yue will also be able to avoid killing Xingyang Huo and extract the Lotus Field Flames from his body. The reincarnated soul smiles, recognizing his otherwise idiotic servant's battle IQ as the real deal. Xinpi is thoroughly impressed as well, concluding that the 2-star Martial Emperor is an expert who has gone through thousands of trials, leaving Xingyang Huo with no chance of victory. Desperate to not suffer a complete and utter defeat like this at the hands of someone so arrogant, the Peak 9-star Martial Grandmaster prepares to self-destruct to take Yuan Yue down with him. Erupting into a burning vortex of his Lotus Field Flames, Xingyang Huo announces that the geezer can get them from him in their graves, somehow always getting unlucky enough to meet petty people who blow themselves up when they lose. Yuan Yue grits his teeth in annoyance, making people explode. Gotta qualify bro as fruity. Right then, Xingyang Huo starts laughing maniacally, declaring that the entire city will go down. Meanwhile, Ao Dijia decides that this incident has nothing to do with them and starts heading out, albeit feeling a tad bit disappointed that he didn't get to see the formation in the Pill Tower. However, Zhu and Xinpi continue to look on intently, as Xingyang Huo's entire being tears apart with his own Lotus Field Flames. Yun Xiao's threatening words echo in his mind, soul, and body, announcing that the likes of him don't deserve the entire city to decorate their grave. With this proclamation, birds of death start flying around in the air. The ugly Pill Tower transforms into an ominous blood-weeping creature, possessing a bloodshot eye that shines a devilish light at Xingyang Huo to exert immense mental pressure on him. Unleashing the universal spirit suppressor, Exile, Yun Xiao pulls the Peak 9 Star Marshal Grandmaster into a horrific nightmare. Despite understanding that it's just a mental attack and everything around him is nothing but an illusion, Xingyang Huo completely loses his sense of self, leaving him questioning just who Yun Xiao really is. Moments later, the Universal Spirit Suppressor, Exile, shatters, waking the intruder to an even harsher reality. Grabbing him by the collar, Duan Yue rips Xingyang Huo's Lotus Field Flames right out of his body. After smacking away the nuisance, the two-star Martial Emperor gets ready to suppress the flames, as any delay will cause them to break off and escape. Unaware of Yun Xiao's mental attack, Zhu Jin, Stin Pi, and Ao Di Jia look on at the scene in confusion, questioning why Xingyang Huo stood still for a split second and gave the enemy a chance to attack. Being the mischievous one of the three, Ao Di Jia tries to provoke Sin Pi into swooping onto the scene and killing everyone to take the Lotus Field Flames for himself, as they can increase his level by 1 star. However, the calm Sin family head doesn't lose his cool, remarking that he doesn't cultivate the fire element as his specialty. Sin Pi deems the Lotus Field Flames to be worthless for him, since he can simply break through 1 star normally in the same amount of time. He's a better man than me? I would have instantly folded. With the Xingyang family's incident finally reaching its rousing conclusion, the Martial Emperor announces that there is no need for them to worry about it anymore, and orders everyone to return. He orders them to avoid injuring the up-and-coming Martial Flame City, not wanting any nuisances when Mount Meru opens, especially since the Xingyang family's demise has shown that even a millennia-old family can fall in the blink of an eye. Hearing Sin Pi's words, the other Martial Emperors and the Martial Grandmasters accompanying them all return to their locations. At the same time, the sun begins to shine on Martial Flame City. In the aftermath of the battle, Duan Yue consumes the Lotus Field Flames and starts rolling around in agony. Yun Xiao quickly orders the 4 refiners he got from the Star Mansion Sect to help him suppress them, feeling annoyed at the same time that Li Yi somehow disappeared during the chaos yet again. He then heads inside the Pill Tower, whose interior is fortunately unaffected by Xingyang Huo's bombardment. There, Jia Rong, who has become a 3rd-tier refiner and a harder punching bag, comes flying to his young master Yun with excitement. Of course, the reincarnated soul happily greets him with a massive punch to the face. You know, the usual on the menu. Jia Rong fills in Yun Xiao about what they did upon Xingyang Huo's arrival. Turns out, Hong Bin stepped up big time and led the evacuation to the Pill Tower, while Qian Duo suffered some injuries while investigating on his own, but is now doing fine. Suddenly, it hits Jia Rong that Yun Xiao entered the Pill Tower directly, making him question what happened to the Peak 9 Star Marshal Grandmaster. Talking like it isn't a big deal at all, the boy quickly mentions that he is dead and moves on to the next order of business, which is to rebuild the City Lord residence and expand the city. Oh, and if Jia Rong finds a heavily injured person outside who is as big of a glazer as him, he shouldn't interrupt or annoy them. Just like that, Yun Xiao disappears into the wind, leaving the 3rd-tier refiner in complete and utter disbelief. For a pinnacle existence in the Dusk Flame Empire, to die in Martial Flame City, Jia Rong wonders just how much more chaos his young master Yun is going to cause in Tianwu. Afterward, the reincarnated soul heads to the mythic cloud, shaking thunder-roaring beast who has broken through to the 6th tier. Since beasts are usually limited by their bloodlines and can't break through easily, managing to do so causes a mutation that makes them stronger. Closely observing the little thing, Yun Xiao realizes that its eyes are marked with a glint of the legendary demon beast, meaning that he has greatly underestimated its ancestral line. Despite wanting to see the mythic cloud shaking thunder-roaring beast's true strength instantly, Yun Xiao kicks it away for now, ordering the creature to guard the entrance and prevent anyone from entering. Of course, the little Pikachu readily fulfills its master's wishes. Finally, the reincarnated soul arrives before Meng Wu and announces his arrival. And so, the 200-chapter milestone comes with a full circle moment, a hopeful reunion between Yun Xiao and a sleeping beauty. Tune in next time to see what happens from here on out.